That's the book. That's the book that I wrote.
This is the book.
The actual book
This
itself.
is the book. This is
The one that you read it, actually. I don't know if you remember.
it's a really thick iPhone.
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah, you read it on paper. Uh, so I haven't had that reflection of people who I'm close to giving me any sort of reaction about it. So it's interesting to have one of the first conversations with you because we've known each other for so long. The first, the first time anybody planted the idea in my head of you should write a book was Spilo. You remember my
Yeah,
manager, Dan Spilo?
of course.
So for people watching, I've only had one manager my entire acting career, and I describe him this way in the book, but he is truly he's like every character from the TV show Entourage in one person. Um, so he's a ridiculous person. He's a lion. He has a heart of gold. All of those things in one person. And the day I left the White House in at the end of 2011, that same day he called me and he said, "You need to write a book." And I said, "No, man, that's not why I did this. I took a sabbatical from acting.
The day you returned, the day you left, you
I
said, yeah.
left the White House and returned to acting." And I said that's not why I took a sabbatical. I don't have a story to tell. And he said, "Well, nobody has gone from acting into politics, and you should write a book." And I said something like, "Literally, the governor's name is Arnold Schwarzenegger. There are people who have done it." And he he said, "Yeah, but
Wait a second. Arnold Schwarzenegger was an actor?
he was an actor before, yeah, and a bodybuilder, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, muscles, kindergarten cop." So, so anyway, I said,
Twins. I
no,
prefer twins. Go ahead.
I didn't want to write. I didn't want to write a book, and then years went by, and I thought. I finally thought that maybe I had a story, and part of it was actually some of the conversations that we had, which I read about in the book. That version, the idea that there's the 12-year-old me or the middle school.
Mm-hmm.
I started thinking about the younger me who was maybe in his 20s or early to mid 20s, and how there wasn't really a book or there wasn't really a guide for what it was like or what it could be like as a young man of color trying to get into the entertainment industry. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, there's also that idea that, I've never seen the world as binary. I've never seen it as a series of mutually exclusive choices. And it seemed like more and more people were gravitating towards that type of thinking in their own lives, where that maybe they want to do something that they were otherwise told was crazy or was ridiculous or might be a bad idea that they decided to dive into. And I thought maybe there is a story that I can tell, and that's initially what made me want to write the book. And most of the writing was done during the pandemic, which was a time when so many people left their jobs and
Yeah.
struggled what they were doing. So that was the kind of the origin story of why I decided I wanted to write this.
Interesting. I will say one of the impressions that I got was, although it's going to be in the memoir section clearly, but it's also a really effective how-to manual. It seems like an actor's guide. You and I guess a politics primer. It was really filled with wonderful details, and I felt what your time was, especially those UCLA years and those early when you were starting in the business, and of course your time in the White House. It was just for people who haven't read it, it's just a really vivid day-to-day account of those times. But where was I going with this? The one thing I was really impressed with was your understanding of both businesses, and I'll call it, politics and business as well for the sake of our conversation. But like, you see the whole thing, and I was struck by that because I've always been an actor who I didn't see everything. I was just trying to go from gig to gig and just book and just survive. And it was really apparent to me, you took internships and you were educating yourself early on. Was that by design?
Uh, I think so. I mean, I was, one of the reasons that I to Los Angeles for college, and I went to UCLA undergrad, was that I wanted to pursue more film and TV. Growing up outside of New York City, I felt like I had some exposure to professional theater because you could take the train into the city and see a Broadway play with your friends and go see off Broadway theater and street performers and all of that. But I had zero exposure to film and TV. So I wanted to, of course, be an actor, but I also wanted to see what that world was like as a producer and as a in the casting world. And so I took internships and I tried to get my foot in the door. And I wanted to learn everything there was to learn. I did extra work for a while, knowing that extra work typically does not lead to actual acting work or speaking acting work, but it was one of the few ways while I was an undergrad that I could make a couple of bucks and watch people produce film and TV, and I just found it so.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because actually, if you're working as an actor, if you're working as a principal, actually, it's to your detriment to look around and figure out
Yeah.
what you have to focus on your job. And as an extra, I feel like you could kind of you have more time to look around.